It's like YouTube. YouTube didn't destroy the art of making film because it got easier. It vastly increased the scope of the type of film that was made. It didn't have to be a sitcom or a feature film. Now it's a tutorial. Now it's a random podcast. Now it's a stupid, funny video of you just running face first into the wall and falling down for 15 seconds. It just means that you can make video for a billion things that never made economic sense before, because you can just do it with your phone and post it online in 20 minutes.
That's a great point.
It changes the economics of these things. It's not going to take away your job. You're going to have 100,000 more people making films and graphics and needing people to do these things than they did before. It will change the nature of the job.
Yeah,
it will change the industry. It will change the tools that you are using, but it will not change the need for the skill. Because it's also important to remember that all of these things are generated just based off what humans make, and they still can't make something new. An AI doesn't, it's not AI. It's a probability machine. It doesn't have judgment. It doesn't create new things. It doesn't have that the five senses and the sense of mortality and the concern and the judgment and the feelings. It can't, like a good example. There was a case of a dude who was having seizures, and I can't remember, this like in the 50s or something like that. He was having seizures, and this doctor thought that he could cure it, and by seeing this part of the brain that was constantly firing when he was having seizures. And so he's like, we're going to remove this part of the brain. And they kind of botched it and removed way too much, and removed a ton of his frontal lobe. And he was still completely capable. He could think, he could do basic math, he could do all, like, everything, but he could no longer associate a feeling with any of it. And because of that, he was completely incapacitated. His IQ was still the same, but if you told him, like, should you spend time worrying about the fact that this pencil is on the ground, or whether or not you should be doing your work, he wouldn't know. He would just be like, I'll just do the pencil. Or he was just frozen in a unable to choose, because it is how we feel about things that every judgment, every fact, every choice, every narrative is actually chosen.
Oh man, that's totally right. Yeah. That's the this is so predominant in philosophy and psychiatry, how feelings drive beliefs and then action.
Yes.
Right. Which that AI misses all that.
AI can't do any of that. And all of that actually stems from value judgments. And you can't have value judgments unless you're going to die.
Right. Yeah.
Like, if you're not mortal, nothing matters.
Good point.
Like, you don't have a sense of time. AI is not a human in a box. AI is a program. It's just a piece of software. It's not going to make judgments. It's not going to replace decision-making or values. And most of our economy is social anyway. And nobody wants to be social with a computer except weirdos. They want humans. Go back to the old guys that you have to protect, who's like, I still just want to pay them. They're desperate for human interaction. They just want to talk to somebody. AI is never going to replace your job. It's never going to replace people in the economy. And the only way AI can get better is if people make better things, and then we train those AI on it.
So it just keeps coming back to, are you able to iterate fast enough to change your business model? Yeah. Are you able to use the tools, prompt it properly? Are you going to be
disrupted, or are you just going to use the thing that's disrupting you and be the one who's utilizing the new system or the new way? Are you going to adapt, or are you going to bitch about it until you get fired? Yeah. Like, just use it. It's just a tool.
So for people that,
and it doesn't take away art, and it doesn't take away meaning, and it doesn't take away value. It just means that the things that we can make are that much easier. If you can tell a good story, it means that the barrier and the funds that you need to tell that story are lower than they have ever been. And now a 10-year-old with just a stroke of genius and a good idea could very well in a couple of years be able to make a seemingly big budget feature film by themselves but it will still be the story that made it good. And that will still come from a human.
Actually, it would incentivize the story.
It's exactly right. It incentivizes good story because now the graphics don't matter anymore. Go back to the video game analogy. People just stop giving a shit. You got a really great painting? Cool. What's it mean? Why do I care about this painting? What's new about it? People got AI fatigue in like 6 months with just like a bunch of random pictures, you know?
Remember when we were, assuming we're about the same age, when we were in high school, how we were just like rushing to the next great film because the graphics were so intense and it was so realistic compared to what we saw as kids. And then it gets to the point where now you're just like,
it's like, The Last Jedi.
I want to find that really great story, you know?
The Last Jedi is one of the most beautiful movies. There is so much great art, and the graphics are just incredible. The dog fights are just unbelievable. What they did with the graphics in the new, like the new films and stuff. But that movie is utter dog shit. That is like one of the worst movies I have ever seen. I came out of the theater baffled, like just like kind of stunned at how shit that movie was. They put like $200 million, like $400 million, something retarded into that movie. And it's so bad. Again, the graphics don't matter. If you have a good story that a narrative that drives, that you can connect to a human element, you know, what does that character love and why are they being prevented from getting that thing? That can be the worst graphics in the world. It can be pictures that are just Ken Burns effect sliding across the screen for 40 minutes. But if you can captivate somebody with a good story, it just means that you don't have to use Ken Burns effect, because AI is going to make you let you tell that story in a beautiful way that was previously only capable by people who had $300 million and a big budget producer and knew somebody in Hollywood. That barrier, that network of like, only we're allowed to do this, has just broken down.
That's so great.
They don't matter anymore because you can tell a story, and all you need is a computer with a GPU.
In this sense, AI is pro-human.
100%.
Very hopeful. That's
100%.
Very hopeful.
Yeah,
I'm very excited about that. And not only that, I want to see your films when they come out. So
give me time. I'm excited. I've been trying to like consolidate things and get my time and like how I do my focus, because I'm really jazzed about getting back to story. Like
That's cool.
It was a big part of what I've always wanted to do. And it was funny. I'll tell just like kind of a little story of my perspective changes. When I went into tech, I told you I went out to LA and did film for a short while. And part of me loved it, part of me hated it. Just because I was literally just doing bitch work for a studio. Scott, I was actually on the Disney lot.
I've been there, done that as well.
Yeah. And so I felt like I was like, oh, I'm in it, but like this sucks. And so I came back and started doing my own little media business and like wedding videos and stuff. But I just wanted to do what I wanted to tell my stories, and I just didn't see a path to that. So I went into tech. And I love building computers, sysadmin stuff, internet technician. Like it was always fun to me. So it was an easy second choice that actually paid a lot. Then started the podcast and came back around. It was like 3 or 4 years after the podcast. And I was like, okay, I'm doing this full time and I'm just all in on Bitcoin. I'm just like, this is just what I'm doing now. And I don't know when it happened, because like when I went into tech, I had this kind of like come to Jesus moment where I was like, I'm not a filmmaker anymore. I thought of myself as that for a long time, but that was what I was going to tell stories. And that was like a big mental shift in my world of just realizing that like that really wasn't my future anymore. And then I go through this whole arc and just kind of randomly start a podcast for no particular reason. And then that kind of starts being successful, and I stay, and then I go all the way that way. And then like I have a production company. And then at some point a few years ago, it just struck me. I was like, I'm doing media again. Like I can do film again. I can literally go all the way back around. Tech has now saved my life to the point that I'll go all the way back around and actually do this again. And I actually have the capability. I have the funds. I have the network. And so like we've been slowly over the last year, like putting pieces of this puzzle back together. And I think it's the thing that Bitcoin is missing is telling the story. Cause that's not easy to do either. Like, and I don't pretend to say that like, oh, I'm just going to come out and I'm going to bust up. I'm going to have best feature films ever. No, like it's going to be a very long, grueling process of like pulling out the heart of like human stories in trying to teach lessons or things about money.
So you've heard Bitcoin is the new gold rush by now. As world leaders on all sides have endorsed it as the future of money, and now you're looking to get started, we'll show you how. It's actually easier than you think. First, go to your nearest ByteFederal ATM and turn your cash to coin. ByteFederal has over 1,200 locations around the country with the highest daily limits. Go to our website, ByteFederal.com, to find the nearest ATM to you. Log in to any wallet, then create an account, deposit your US cash, and instantly convert it to Bitcoin. That's it. We are the only US manufacturer and operator in the Bitcoin ATM industry, and our US-based live customer service is second to none. Go on, give it a whirl, and don't get left behind. Click the link below.